Thanks for joining us today on Engage Chesterfield. We're here with Eric Fall from Chesterfield Mental Health Prevention Services to discuss something that's probably on a lot of your minds if you're at home right now with your teen and tween. How to navigate all of this quality time with them and remain sane. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, this is a different shift. You're with your 12-year-old all day long, as opposed to being with your 12-year-old from, 4 or 5 until bedtime. And a lot of things, a lot of emotions right now. How can I do this? I mean, how can I get my child to even listen to me, because they're not used to having to deal with me as much too.
Right. And as difficult as this may seem, it really helps to be as calm and collected and rational as you can be, and respectful, believe it or not. And so when I say believe it or not, I say it because I know, tongue in cheek, it can be hard to stay rational when you're talking to a tween and you get frustrated. But really, people tend to mirror back to us how we behave to them. So when we act a certain way, we're more likely to get back from people how we're acting. If we're being respectful, they're more likely to be respectful back. If we're being disrespectful, same thing, we'll get disrespect back. So really, one of the tips, and it is to be as respectful as possible and as calm, because the fact that as soon as we start to lose it, they've lost it, and they're going to lose it too, and they're going to come back with all of the disdain and the disrespect that we can imagine, and then that cuts the communication off right there. The other part too is to really get down on their level, and by that I mean, one, if they're smaller, to actually kind of get down and sort of talk to them like that, but two, to remember that their brains are developing are in the midst of development, and they won't fully develop till they're about 25, 26 years old. And so because of that, these are kids who are running around with prefrontal cortexes which are not fully developed, and that's where you make rational decisions. That's where you decide what's good sound judgment. That's where we remember things. That's where we, and so that's not fully developed by even a remote stretch for them yet. And they're convinced that it has. They're convinced that they are rational, that they are making good judgmental decisions and so on. And so we have to just keep in mind a lot of times that, okay, I'm really dealing with with a child, not a small adult. And we expect them a lot of times, I think, to be more rational than they really can be at that age.
So just because we can share the same size shoe does not mean that I am necessarily interacting every day now with someone who is making a rational decision.
Right.
And that might be best practice for me to try to be the rational one, as opposed to switching to kind of going at it, with a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
So I think about that, and then, kind of now shifting to where I'm not just the caregiver that is taking care of the home stuff. I might be, say, checking students' online learning opportunities, or making sure that they're staying on top of an assignment now. I've kind of been put in that situation, so the rules and the expectations have really kind of taken the next step up. How do I do that? How can I shift into being, because they listen at school all the time and they follow the rules at school all the time, and I'm needing them now to listen like they listen at school and follow the rules like they follow at school. How do I do that?
Yeah, and there's a built-in problem that arises, and in that they're not in this typical setting where they're accustomed to following the rules. Hopefully they're following rules at home in general, but they're not following those rules about school. And all of a sudden, we're asking them to kind of see us as a quasi-teacher in terms of the work we're giving them and so on. And so there is sort of that inherent problem that's set up, but we really want to be consistent with the information we give them, with what we demand from them. I don't say the word demand, but really what we expect from them. So if we can set up as much structure as possible, so that when they get up and if they do schoolwork, say at 2 o'clock, and just for example, that you have it at 2 o'clock, and you know, they know at 2 o'clock is when we're going to sit down. That's when we're going to look online, see what kind of work you have to do, and that's when we're going to do this time. And from 2 to 2:30, 2 to 3, what have you, that is very structured, and so that you have the structure helping you in terms of their expectations. If they come to realize, okay, from this time to this time, it's sort of like I'm in school. This is when I have to do this work. And so the time, the structured time becomes an ally for you in terms of them switching their expectations of what they're going to be doing during that period of time. And then hopefully they start to see that time as being school, and not you trying all day to constantly get them to do their schoolwork.
Right, have some shift into that motive. It's not the essay that you assigned. You're just making sure that they do that during this time period like they would at school.
Right, and that's also a good way to put it. I mean, sometimes use the school if you need to, as by saying, "Hey, I didn't assign you this essay, but this is something you need to do because this is what was assigned for you," so that you aren't the bad guy. So you can be the person that says, "All right, so you've got to do this essay. Let's take a look at this and figure out what's going on here. What is this about?" And you can then help them, and not be seen as the bad guy. You can more in a sense be the ally of, okay, this is what you have, so how can I help you? What can we do to get through this?
That's a great idea. So when we are kind of now in this time that everybody has some heightened feelings right now, and our kids are doing things that they probably wouldn't normally ever do, when they do break that rule, when they are absolutely defiant, what can I do? What are some tips just to kind of help me do that, right?
Yeah, again, you want to stay as rational and calm as you can, because again, when we lose it, they're going to lose it too, and they're going to storm off and slam their doors or what have you. So we really want to stay as calm, as rational, even as respectful as we can when we're talking with them. There's no reason why we can't give a consequence, but do it with respect. Okay, there's no reason why we can't do both. So you want to have consistent consequences so they know. Really, your child should be able to know what would happen in general for any behavior they do, because of the fact that you're so consistent. So that if they were going to say, if their friend says, "Hey, let's do this," they should be able to say, "Well, if I do this, this is what Mom's going to do, because I know Mom." So you really want to have those consistent consequences, so that when they're really not behaving, you can then tell them, not in a threatening way, but to be honest, kind of a promise. You have a choice. This is the consequence that you're going to have if you make this choice. Okay. If you choose to continue with this behavior or something like that. And then be prepared to follow through in its entirety with the consequence. If they know that you don't mean what you say, if they know that you're going to, say this is what's going to happen if you don't stop that behavior, but if they continue, you really don't follow through, or you follow through kind of halfway. You kind of say, okay, well, you can't do this for 2 days. But after 1 day, you say, well, okay, that's been long enough. Things like that. If they know you won't follow through, then really what you've done is made that problem behavior stronger. Because now they know, if I do it, I have a pretty good chance of getting away with it.
I may be able to scoot by. So I am thinking about, we've talked earlier about the feelings that kids are having, and sometimes that is what drives those negative behaviors or the defiance. Right. But I think a lot of this, can be helped by just talking to your teen or your tween about what's going on, or even the stress and the anxiety that they may feel now having to do school at home with their siblings and both parents, and not having that independence that I think especially middle schoolers really love, and they celebrate getting to have. What can I do to really encourage talking to my child? Or my child to talk to me.
Right, which is difficult, and I think most parents you talk to are going to have that same concern of my kids don't talk to me the way they used to talk to me, kind of feeling. And there's the real natural sense of kids that's the time when kids are starting to pull away. So there's going to be some really normalness about them doing that and not talking as much and using really their peer group to talk to more often. At the same time, people love to talk about things that they're interested in. And so if we really try to grab the moments when our kids want to talk, when they bring something up. So if our kids bring up something that's interesting to them, jump on that moment and ask them more about it. Ask them more questions. Ask them for details about it. Well, how do you, sounds like, oh, you mentioned show choir. Is that something that interests you? What do you like about show choir? Or you mentioned whatever. And in the same way, ask them about their hobbies, things that they really love to do. People love to talk about things that excite them. They really love to talk. You can find the quietest introvert, and if you ask them about their hobby, their things that they love to do, they will start talking and talk all about that particular topic if you're willing to listen. And so when your teenagers and tweens, when they see that you want to know what they are into, what they're interested in, they'll be more open to talking to you about those topics. They're gonna, unfortunately, be more reticent to talk to you about the things that you want to know about, unfortunately. And that's where I think a lot of this friction comes in. When we ask the questions that we want to know the answers to, often those are the things that they are not interested in at all. And so they're going to be just closed mouthed and or it's fine kind of thing.
Nothing, fine.
Nothing, fine. And which really doesn't give us the information we want. And so I'm not saying don't try to find out that information. And certainly if they're showing signs of anxiety or depression, things you're worried about, you want to ask them about that. You want to find out what's going on. But I really encourage people to grab the moments when they're talking about the things that they love to do. Because again, when they really see that we want to know about them, about what they're interested in, I think that shows them that we are not just being a parent who's coming down from above, asking questions to find out and to spy on them, which is how they perceive it. You know, my parents just want to know these questions because they're trying to be nosy or what have you. If they see that we're also asking questions because we're genuinely curious about our kids. And of course, that's the case. Even when we're asking the other questions, we're genuinely curious about our kids because we love our kids. But when they see that we really are genuinely interested, they'll talk more and they'll open up more. And that's really when you can connect with a teenager or a tween, is when you're talking about what excites them.
Wow, that's helpful. I think that it's such a tough time, to really help kids through this time period, and that's what parents do. And to remain sane while doing it. If I need to get more information, or if I'm just really kind of wanting to kind of increase my own understanding of the developmental pieces of this and what I can do as a parent, where can I go?
You can contact us at Chesterfield County Mental Health Support Services, and we do consults, and we do, and of course if there's a need to see a counselor, certainly that's an option too. But certainly you can find out more information, and we'd be more than happy to share more information.
And when we're able to move around, your class on parenting teens and tweens is a great opportunity too as well. Thank you so much for kind of continuing to serve our families during this time. And thanks for coming in to share with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for joining us today on Engage Chesterfield.